Marvel has just had their San Diego Comic-Con panel, Hall H panel. We know where Phase 4 ends. We know all of Phase 5. And the best part, Daredevil is back in the MCU. So we find this out like relatively early into the Comic-Con panel that Daredevil is back too, because they start this panel off with She-Hulk. I mean that comes out August 17th. And the first trailer was interesting because it had a very weird tone to it. Like it was almost like it was trying to be a bit of a rom-com trailer, but didn't feel like it had really committed to that either. So I had like weird vibes from the first trailer, but they dropped another trailer, both in Comic-Con and they publicly released this one. So it was dropped to everyone, and it makes the show look a lot better. It looks, I mean, obviously, like the second trailer makes it look more like a superhero show, but just overall looks more fun. But the very end of it, we obviously, I mean, we don't see the face, the cowl of the Daredevil costume, but we see Daredevil. So, what did you think about this second She-Hulk trailer and kind of what they showed in that?
Well, it's a lot better than the first one. That is for sure. The first one was not very interesting, but I think as we learn more about the show and, well, like you said, Daredevil being introduced, which makes sense because, you know, he's a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well. So, you know, it makes sense that they'd cross paths.
I like that. It's something that they show a bit in the second trailer. The basis of the show is more so on her as Jennifer Walters as a lawyer rather than her being a superhero as She-Hulk. And what is shown in the trailer is like the big thing as she's a lawyer is she is asked to represent Emil Blonsky, who is the Abomination from The Incredible Hulk back in 2008. So Wong shows up in this trailer too because we saw he had some involvement with Abomination back in Shang-Chi, possibly leading to eventually the Thunderbolts. I don't know, because Thunderbolts is coming. We learned that later in Comic-Con. But yeah, so I like that it's, you know, going to be a bigger part about or it's going to be a bit more about the lawyer side, which is something that the Daredevil Netflix show made a pretty big part of season 1 and especially season 2, which I kind of recently finished. Well, actually, probably a month ago now, I finished watching. And I'm starting into season 3 now. It was really focused on his on the lawyer part because he's trying to do too many things at once and he keeps, you know, forgetting about his life as a lawyer and he keeps not showing up to trials and he's causing all these problems for himself and his friends. And so he really like has to figure that whole thing out as a lawyer. So I just like that it's not mainly a superhero show. You know, it's going to really show that she has a life to balance out. And we're going to see more of Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, which I hate his story, but at least he's fun to be there, you know? So that was She-Hulk. Not a whole lot to say about it. Oh, Daredevil. When Daredevil, the one more thing about Daredevil, when he shows up at the end of the trailer, he's wearing the classic, the original red and yellow Daredevil suit, which is something like I initially saw it and because I remember it had been leaked recently that Daredevil was going to show up in Echo and he was going to be in a black Daredevil suit. So I saw him flip in. I was like, oh, that's it. That's the black suit that he's going to show up in Echo. And then I watched it, like skipped it back and like played it again. I was like, that suit's definitely not black. It's totally dark red there. And then people have like brightened up the shot a little bit and it's definitely the red and yellow suit, which I think is going to be something he literally only wears in this show for however many scenes he's in it as Daredevil, as kind of just a thing, you know, just to give people the classic red and yellow suit. Because It's
Yeah.
one of those things where nobody wants to see it for a whole season. Nobody wants it to be his main suit, but it's one of like I would love to see it just be created in live action. So it's a cool place to put it. But moving on from that, our next Disney Plus show after She-Hulk, surprisingly enough, our next show doesn't come until spring of next year. So She-Hulk is the last Marvel show for the year. But Secret Invasion is coming spring 2023. And they dropped a Comic-Con exclusive trailer for that. So I have not seen it. I haven't seen any leaks of it either. Obviously, you haven't seen it either. Neither of us were at Comic-Con.
No.
I've heard from a couple people, it seems kind of dark. I mean, that's something that can be said in general about so many things. Like, you hear, like, oh, it seems kind of dark. And at this point, there's so many different versions of that. Like, you could say, oh, the Multiverse of Madness trailer looked dark. Or, oh, the Batman trailer looked dark. And then if you compare those two movies, they're completely different levels of dark. So, dark is a very general term. But the biggest things from the trailer, Nick Fury has a beard. He has not been on Earth in a while. He meets Maria Hill in a bar, and essentially she says that, or they establish that Nick Fury has been avoiding Earth for years at this point, and she asks why he's come back, and he's like, well, this, kind of deserved my attention. And, they get into the whole Skrull invasion part of it. What's interesting to me is Nick Fury knows. The last time we've seen Nick Fury at this point was at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home, where he is in a fake island vacation, and then he walks out and it turns out he's in space, and there's he's on something with either it's Sword, because Sword is also a Marvel, similar to S.H.I.E.L.D. It's a organization, but a more space-based organization. And maybe he's in the Sword base, and then there are Skrulls working there, or he's in a Skrull ship and is just kind of hanging out with them. But somehow he finds out about this Skrull invasion that Skrulls have been infiltrating governments and everything else, just on Earth. And Talos, he's talking to Talos. Ben Mendelsohn's character from Captain Marvel is back, and we also saw Talos at the end of Far From Home. But Ben Mendelsohn's back, and he's talking to Nick Fury, and is honestly kind of telling Nick Fury, this is dangerous, and it's something you don't want to get into. But Talos is helping Nick Fury stop the Skrull invasion. From the trailers, at least, it seems like Talos is helping Nick Fury stop the invasion. So that's a bit of an interesting point. It's just why would he help him? If the Skrulls are invading, why would he help Nick Fury and not his own people? Because Captain Marvel kind of made the Skrulls very the innocent ones compared to the Kree, rather than in the comics.
Absolutely.
In the comics, the Skrulls are evil. They fully intentionally shapeshift, infiltrate governments, take over planets, and essentially claim them and make it their own planet. So
yeah, and Captain Marvel is just, they're looking for a home.
It was an interesting flip, though.
It's
it was something I didn't expect them to. That did actually catch me by surprise a little bit. I didn't expect them to make the Skrulls the good guys at the end of Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Which makes it more interesting that the Skrulls are now the bad guys. But some of them, because Talos obviously seems to be helping them. War Machine shows up in the trailer, and he's surrounded by guys in black suits, and then Nick Fury looks at him and is like, how much do you trust your own men? Just kind of hinting that any of them could be a Skrull. It'd be nuts to learn that War Machine was actually a Skrull this whole time. And it had just been in the U.S. government for this long.
Yeah, Secret Invasion is definitely just going to make us question everything.
I feel like they're going to reveal that a character we've known for a while that is minorly a background character or not as important in the front has been a Skrull this whole time. And I'm very interested to know who it is. But actually, after I've brought up that point right now, I'm thinking about it. There is one show that we have had announced to us. So later on in San Diego Comic-Con, they essentially laid out all of Phase 5 for us. Even after that, they laid out some of Phase 6, which we get into in another episode of the podcast, because we had to separate this because there's just so much that they dropped at Comic-Con. But there's one show that did not get a release date, and it's Armor Wars. And Rhodey, War Machine, is supposed to be like the main character of that, and it's about like Iron Man's technology falling into the wrong hands.
Mm-hmm.
I want this show to happen. I like the idea. It's a good premise. It's a great story. I would love to see it happen. But what if the reason it didn't get a release date is because it's not happening anymore because they decided to make Rhodey a Skrull?
Yeah. There was nothing at Comic-Con on Armor Wars. But Yasir Lester, who... Hold on, give me a second.
Giving you a second. One point I'll bring up while Chris is looking up what he's looking up.
Yeah. He's head writer and executive producer on Disney Plus. He posted on his Instagram story, "I promise it is still coming out."
Okay.
Like during Comic-Con. So
I'm gonna assume that would mean Armor Wars.
Yeah.
Like Marvel they've never announced something and had it not come out. Even Inhumans, they announced Inhumans as a movie, it got turned into a TV show, and it got swept into the background, and that still got released. So, like, you know, I'd assume Armor Wars is still happening. I don't think it's not happening. I've heard that it's supposed to start filming by the end of this year. I'm just so interested about why they didn't give it a release date or, like, mention it.
Or anything. Like, not even release date, just like a year.
Yeah, just say something about it. That's the weirdest thing to me, because it's not like they're going to sweep it under. They were very... I mean, it was one of the original announcements during COVID when they were kind of just trying to hang on in there before WandaVision came out, when they had that Disney Investors Day in December 2020. When they dropped everything, that was when they dropped like the casting for Hawkeye with Kate Bishop. That's when they dropped the announcement of Wakanda Forever, Fantastic Four. They dropped the casting of Tatiana Maslany for She-Hulk, which is coming out in a couple weeks at this point. So yeah, I mean, it was announced with everything else on Investors Day back in 2020, and everything else that was announced at Investors Day has been given a release date now. So yeah, Armor Wars is a big question, and not of really whether it's happening, because I'm sure it'll happen. It's just a question of when, where, what it's relating to. But I mean, War Machine is in Secret Invasion, so it's not like the character has disappeared. Moving on from that, though, getting into the first movie of Phase 5, Marvel confirmed that Ant-Man Quantumania in February 2023 is kicking off Phase 5. And that release date, it's like mid-February, I think. Hold on, I gotta find the picture of all the release dates. Yeah, February 17th. Yeah. Oh, it's a bit of a Valentine's Day movie. Maybe that'll be my Valentine's Day gift to my girlfriend. Is that I get to go see Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yeah, Quantumania is coming out as the first movie in Phase 5. And they dropped a Comic-Con exclusive trailer for that. Now, I did see a leak of this one. I didn't send it to you because it was quite literally like the top right corner of the entire screen, and you can't make anything out, and there was no point in me watching it. But the only thing I got from it was very like muffled lines that were extremely loudly played through speakers. And so they've already said Kang the Conqueror is in this movie. But what they didn't say when they had first announced Quantumania, when announcing Jonathan Majors was playing Kang the Conqueror, again, something that was announced at 2020 Investors Day, MODOK is in the movie. And apparently MODOK is actually the main villain of Quantumania and Kang is just there. Which, I mean, makes sense because it would be really hard to make Kang the main villain of Quantumania and then have him still come out and be the main villain going into Phase 6 as they announce Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars, which, again, we cover in another episode. So, yeah, people watch...
That's kind of the feeling...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. That's kind of the feeling that I had. How I thought it was odd that they would introduce the next main villain saga and really like make him the main villain. Make him first appear at the end of a TV show. Which Disney Plus shows were still pretty early by the time Loki came out.
Yeah,
or at least when they were doing Loki.
Loki was only their third Disney Plus show at the point. So
yeah, and then you have it in the third Ant-Man movie, which the Ant-Man movies haven't been incredibly popular. Like, it's not like a Captain America.
Yeah. Quantumania looks like it's going to be, like, really good, though.
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because they're basically just using Ant-Man movies to continue plot at this point. Because the first Ant-Man is great. It's its own movie. But Ant-Man and the Wasps... Well, Ant-Man and the Wasp, like, its entire existence as a movie is to set up the quantum realm. And therefore, Ant-Man time traveling to Endgame the 5 years, and then setting up the time travel for Endgame. And now they're using Ant-Man Quantumania to set up Kang the Conqueror for the next major Avengers movies being Kang Dynasty and Secret Wars. So Ant-Man is just carrying the MCU by setting up all the plot, I guess.
Oh, yeah. I think that's...
If I were to put Paul Rudd, I'd put those on Paul Rudd's shoulders. But actually, a real quote from Kevin Feige. Kevin Feige said, "There is no one he'd rather put the weight of the multiverse saga. He wouldn't want to put it on anyone else's shoulders but Jonathan Majors, who is playing Kang." And from what we saw in Loki, he was just 10 out of 10, dude. He was amazing in that last episode.
Yeah.
And I will say, who we see in Loki, yes, is a version of Kang, but he's separate. Like, he's not Kang the Conqueror. That is He Who Remains, which is in the comics. Kang is a version of himself called Immortus, and that's kind of, they combine that with He Who Remains, and that's what we saw in Loki. So he is a version of Kang who is Nathaniel Richards. Nathaniel Richards is Kang's real name. It's He Who Remains' his real name. They're all versions of Nathaniel Richards. It's just one Nathaniel Richards went on to become He Who Remains. Another Nathaniel Richards goes on to become Kang the Conqueror. So, yes, it is the same actor because they are variants of the same person, but they are not the same character. Like, they have taken on entirely different paths. I am interested to see, because we see Kang the Conqueror as a statue show up at the end of Loki Season 1. Does he have anything to do with Loki Season 2? Because that also got an announcement. So, are we seeing more Kang there? I don't really think so. I feel like they kind of dropped that to just, like, make us all go, ooh, shit, that's Kang. That's not good. Yeah. And then, really, he's going to be in Quantumania. But I feel like he's got to show up somewhere else before Kang Dynasty. Like, I don't feel like they put him in the first movie of Phase 5 and then wait 2 years and then put him in Avengers The Kang Dynasty, like, literally 15 at least projects apart.
Yeah. I think they're going to do like what they did with Thanos at first. How, you know, he was sort of always there in the back, pulling the strings, like that sort of thing. I don't think he's going to be like the forefront villain until those Avengers movies.
I think he'll be the one pulling the strings for the multiverse saga, but I think he'll just be a little bit more active than Thanos was. Because like Thanos was the post-credit scene of Avengers, and then he was also in the post-credit scene, or then he was in Guardians of the Galaxy for a little bit, then he was in the post-credit scene of Age of Ultron, then he was in Sorry. Then he was in the end of Thor Ragnarok. So he was very like sprinkled out there for 6 years until he actually became the villain in Infinity War. And obviously now we have a much shorter like physical timeline. Like the actual amount of time between the start and end of phase 5 is way shorter. Or sorry, the start and end of phase 5 to phase 6. So really the start and end of Multiverse Saga is way, way shorter than it was for the first 3 phases. But the amount of projects, there are more projects in phases 4, 5, and 6 than there were in phases 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Phases 1, 2, and 3 completed themselves after 11 years. Phases 4, 5, and 6 will be done in 4 years and 4 months. Or actually, no, sorry. If we go to WandaVision is the first one. I was thinking Black Widow. So 4 years and 10 months. So way less than half the time with more projects.
Yeah,
So,
it's pretty crazy. I mean,
Bill-
really, phase 1 started like that, like kicked off modern superhero movies with like Iron Man. Like that created this phenomenon.
I would say the first like genuine modern superhero movie was Batman Begins back in 2005. That was the first one that really set up the vibe of.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was before.
That was
Iron
2005. Man. Yeah, that really pushes the more like realistic takes on superheroes while also still giving them the superhero costume that looks like it came out of the comic books. That really kind of that middle ground, and Iron Man took that and made it into Iron Man and made it work for a bit of a brighter universe. And it's crazy to watch the MCU go through time, because if you watch Iron Man, it's pretty colorful. It's not as bright as, say, something like Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's brighter. Then you get to Guardians of the Galaxy, which is literally like a vomiting rainbow of color, which is fantastic. I love it. But while that was being made, at the same time, you have Age of Ultron being made. And my least favorite year, in comic book movies is 2015, purely for color grading. If you go back and watch Age of Ultron now, it is so blue grayed out. And it's funny because I've heard interviews with like poster makers or VFX artists. I don't know at this point. I've heard so many about people bringing up Marvel Blue. Are we going to do something with Marvel Blue? And I think, I can't remember who said this, but I heard it recently. And whoever was like, no, we're not doing Marvel Blue. And Marvel Blue is kind of like, if you look back at like the original Iron Man posters and Iron Man, like Iron Man's arc reactor color, and you look over and like everything that is the color blue in Marvel that it has any relation to energy or like a poster, a movie poster, it is all like the same exact shade of blue, which is really funny.
Like that, like Tesseract color.
Yeah, Tesseract, the blue beam that comes up there, Thor's lightning, Iron Man's arc reactors. Which actually, Iron Man's arc reactors went from looking more like white and yellow to looking blue.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, in the first movie, it was blue when it was in his chest, and then in the Iron Man suit, it looked whitish yellow. Yeah, so 2015, though, you know what else was 2015? Batman v Superman, and that was colorless.
Yes.
So, yeah, 2015 was a bad year for colorful movies, for colorful superhero movies. But yeah, so it's funny to look at the parallels of these of these phases, because phase 1 was kind of their dipping their toes into the water in superhero films, and they did such a good job with it, and it ends with Avengers. And phase 2, they got more confident. They went a little out there with Guardians of the Galaxy, obviously Ant-Man's such a classic character. They got that done. and there's a lot of sequel movies. And Phase 2 is solid. And then once they really got comfortable after Phase 2, and Phase 2 is really introducing and building that story, because in Age of Ultron, which is towards the end of, I think Ant-Man technically ends Phase 2, but I always more so think of the phases as leading up to Avengers films. So Avengers 1 ends Phase 1, Age of Ultron is Phase 2. And so that builds up the Thanos story, and you get introduced to the stones through Thor's vision in Age of Ultron, and then you start getting hints at Civil War, because you start having Cap and Iron Man butt heads in Avengers too, but they start butting heads even more in Age of Ultron. And then, so it's really like Phase 1 dips the toes in. Phase 2 actually sets this, like, the seeds up for what's coming. And then Phase 3 is they now have their toes in. They know what movies do work. They know what doesn't work. And they run with it.
Yeah.
So now you can see, now Phase 4 is like, okay, they're dipping their toes into the multiverse. It's a bit more than how they dip their toes into the movies in Phase 1, because we've had No Way Home goes full into the multiverse. Multiverse of Madness goes less into the multiverse than it should have, but still goes into it. We've got What If. But so it's kind of like, all right, we're going to set up the multiverse, see how this goes. Obviously, they had more of a plan for this. They've been planning this before we even saw any of these things in Phase 4.
Mm-hmm.
But now we get into Phase 5, and now it's going to be, all right, now we're going to set up the seeds of what the actual story is going to be. Because you look back at Phase 1, the only time you actually learn what the story is at the end of Avengers. That's when you see Thanos, and that's when you realize this is where it's going. So now we have seen Kang and Loki. Now we're being told that Kang is where it's going. And now, so it's it's literally like one movie later. Instead of the end of Phase 4, it's the first movie of Phase 5 where we're going to get introduced to Kang and get the idea of where this is going. But so kind of the last thing I have to say from Ant-Man Quantumania, which is just going to attest to Kang as a character in the MCU. Ant-Man meets Kang. He's talking to him and he says, "I'm an Avenger." And Kang's response is, "An Avenger? Have I killed you before?" So that's an interesting line, because does this mean Kang has been going around to other multiverses and killing Avengers? Has he been going time traveling and killing Avengers? Because he's a huge time travel villain. Like, that's Kang's biggest thing, is the reason he has so many variants is because of time travel. So has he gone into the future and killed Avengers? Has he gone into the past? So very interesting quote there. And then, so after they show this trailer of Quantumania, I'm pretty sure that's how it went, they dropped the rest of Phase 5. They said, this is it, this is what we're doing, and gave us all of the release dates. So we're going to run through these. Don't have a whole lot to say about some of them because they're decently far away. But so, starting it off, Quantumania, February 17th, 2023. Following that, Spring 2023, Secret Invasion. I'm going to assume that means March. And it's kind of going to mirror how the shows go this year. So I'm going to assume that means March. Then we have Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3 on May 5th, which I am extremely excited for.
Me too.
We'll talk about that after going through Phase 5. Summer 2023, we have Echo, who we saw Echo back in Hawkeye, where we saw Vincent D'Onofrio come back as Kingpin. Daredevil is supposed to be involved in that story in a black Daredevil suit. I'm sure Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin will be back and involved in that story. So Echo coming out summer 2023. Loki season 2 also coming out in summer 2023. I don't know how to take these timelines because, like, so Loki's marked a little, like a very tiny bit before the Marvels. So maybe, I don't know if that's supposed to mean that it comes out before the Marvels and they're actually trying to line this up. Because, like, you look at it and it's like, there's no, like, they could have put Loki a bit to the right of the Marvels and on the timeline and it would have fit still. So, I don't know. But Echo and Loki our summer 2023. I'm so excited for Loki season 2. It's still my favorite MCU Disney Plus show. Tom Hiddleston's still amazing, so I'm really excited to see where that goes and what they do with how they ended off season 1 with some pretty big things.
What they could do, I mean, I don't know if they would do it though. Would they start Loki season 2? Say it's like 6 weeks, 6 episodes, and release the Marvels at like, say, the same week as like Loki episode 4? I don't know that. They could, but I don't know if they would.
I think they would. I think it honestly works better for them to release a movie, not a movie and a finale in the same week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I feel like that generates a bit of like more longer lasting, people talking. But anyway, after Loki season 2, or sometime around Loki season 2, is the Marvels coming out on July 28th, 2023. That's something we just got a little bit of a hint to at the end of Miss Marvel, having that post-credit scene with Captain Marvel popping in. And I'm honestly excited to see more of Monica Rambeau. She was a ton of fun in WandaVision, so I'm excited to see her expand her powers and see more of that. I'm excited to see more of Kamala Khan, and specifically Iman Vellani getting to interact with and playing Miss Marvel, interacting with Captain Marvel, her idol, as well as Spectrum or Photon or whatever name they give her. I'm pretty sure that's the Spectrum logo though. So, is it? Wait, hold on. I can literally Google this right now. I've totally said this before on the show. I'm pretty sure she's Spectrum in the MCU right now, and they're like going that route. Yeah, okay, that looks more like Spectrum. Yeah, that's the Spectrum logo. So yeah, she's going to be Spectrum. Yeah, Marvels. I'm excited for that, not at all because of Captain Marvel, but because of Monica Rambeau and Miss Marvel. Following that, November 3rd, 2023, we finally have been given a release date for Blade. I'm a little upset it's not before Halloween. Not gonna lie, a little upset it's not before Halloween.
Yeah, that should be like Halloween week.
But at the same time, it's 3 days after Halloween, so still a little bit of that.
Let's see how it works out with. Let's see, like what day of the week.
Halloween is like a Tuesday.
Yes, Halloween is a Tuesday, so it comes out the Friday after Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
so. I mean, honestly, it's closer. It's closer to Halloween than releasing it the Friday before, technically.
Yeah, but
yeah. Once you're past Halloween,
the hype, like it like builds and then drops straight off a cliff.
Yeah, Halloween does not go to November 1st. Halloween goes up to the 31st, and then as soon as it's November 1st, you're getting into holiday
so like
season.
11:59 p.m. and then you put up like. I was gonna say put up Christmas decorations, but
absolutely
that's
not.
Black Friday.
Black Friday. Good opinions. That's the right way to think about it. Anyway, Blade. I'm super excited for Blade. I'm really excited for them to get into the more, the demons, the vampires, the werewolves, that side of Marvel.
Vampires? Marvel?
Yep.
Vampires?
Morbid
what? Time? It's Morbid time? You're welcome.
All right, well, so that's the end of the podcast right there. We have nothing else to say. It's Morbid time. I do want to see Blade kill Morbius. I would love to see Blade kill Morbius.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't watched Morbius. Still won't watch Morbius. But I'd love to see Blade kill Morbius. So hopefully Sony gets the right idea and stops. I'm excited for Blade, though. Mahershala Ali is a fantastic actor. It's so funny from when they announced this back in 2019. Kevin Feige's quote was, when Mahershala Ali walks up to you and says, I want to do Blade, can we make a Blade movie? You say yes.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited for Blade. I feel like they're really, I mean, they've started filming it within this past month. I'm really hoping they put a good amount of effort into it, and I know they will. They do in everything, and I'm excited for this side of Marvel. because I feel like they are also very possibly building towards a Midnight Suns team, which is almost like their Mystic Avengers. And if I were to say my biggest idea of how they would continue into phases 7, 8, and 9 and their next large villain, I think it would switch to a Mystic villain. And instead of building to Avengers, they might switch it up and build it to a Midnight Suns. And have it end like maybe, I don't know, because they're already setting it up here. I don't know if they would build it that late and wait until the end of phase 9. But like Midnight Suns, like Spider-Man can still be on the Midnight Suns because you can still punch a vampire. But, it'll be something that's more led by Strange, and it's more led by Strange and Blade and Scarlet Witch, and Spider-Man is more there for support because he's kind of out of his realm. But yeah, I'm excited for Blade, excited for the Mystic side of Marvel. Coming in around Blade, fall 2023, we have Ironheart, who we are actually going to see very soon in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So, I don't know if we're going to see her, like, in an Iron Man suit, her Ironheart suit. I don't know if they're going to make her Ironheart suit a little bit more based on Wakandan technology, because maybe that's how she's able to build the suit and start getting the technology in Wakanda Forever, but we will be seeing Riri Williams in Wakanda Forever, so we'll have a solid idea where Ironheart will be going in November of this year. So, interesting show. Ironheart kind of flopped a little bit in the comics. Her comic book run, it just flopped a little bit. Not a lot of people loved it, so I think the Marvel show will make people enjoy the character a lot more. So
yeah. I feel like people just feel like it's been done before, like kind of thing.
Yeah, like, so that is one interesting thing. I'm interested to see how they put a spin on Ironheart that makes her stand out from Iron Man, besides her being a black woman, or I guess she's a black teenager, but obviously, like, there's no problem with that, and that's not what I'm saying. I want her to stand out in other ways besides that. I want her to be a really good character, rather than just being a black female Iron Man. I don't want her to get just dropped into that and have them make everything else the same, but it's just bringing Riri Williams into a show. I want them to really, really make this good, and that goes for everything.
Into the character and
but
develop a character. Gotcha.
Because she did flop in the comics, and it was not really because of her skin color. Honestly, the story just flopped. So, yeah. All right. Well, following Ironheart in this timeline, winter 23 and 24. So that could mean December 23 into January 24. So somewhere around there, kind of similar to what the WandaVision release area was, is, funnily enough, Agatha. No longer called Agatha House of Harkness. It is now Agatha Coven of Chaos. Which, I mean, that's pretty clear. It has something to do with Wanda.
Which, I mean,
it has something to do with how Wanda ends up in Multiverse of Madness. And yeah, you would expect it because Agatha was trying to get her powers anyway at the end of WandaVision. I'm interested to see, like, does this show bring Wanda back? Or does this show set up bringing Wanda back? Because she's definitely not dead. So, Agatha Coven of Chaos. Catherine Hahn was fantastic in WandaVision. Agatha All Along is still one of the best things from that show. And I like, she was so enjoyable as Agnes, and then when she was revealed as Agatha. So I'm very, very excited for Agatha Coven of Chaos and for Catherine Hahn to get to play Agatha Harkness in her own show. She'll lead that just so well. The biggest thing for me that I am so, so excited for, spring 2024, we are getting a Daredevil Disney Plus show titled Daredevil Born Again. Which, I mean, clearly the title is meant towards kind of the same way they named Spider-Man Homecoming as his first movie in the MCU. Like, you know, he's coming home to the MCU in that way. Born Again, Daredevil is coming back from the Netflix show, still played by Charlie Cox because we have seen him in the MCU already. He is coming back into and being brought into the true MCU and not kind of in some weird gray area of is he or is he not.
Mm-hmm.
He's fully being brought back. Daredevil Born Again. And it's also named after the Daredevil Born Again series where Matt Murdock gets driven insane by the Kingpin, which is interesting because Daredevil Season 3 on the Netflix show is based on, like, slightly loosely, but is based on Daredevil Born Again.
Mm-hmm.
So are they doing Daredevil Born Again, or are they literally just using the title to say that he is just coming home to the MCU?
Yeah.
But I'm just excited for it. I'm excited for more Charlie Cox's Daredevil. I'm excited to see a new suit. I'm excited to see everything about it. I'm excited to see Marvel doing more with Daredevil in the MCU. He's a great character, you know?
Yeah.
Following Daredevil Born Again, which honestly, Daredevil Born Again might have a little bit to do with this next movie. We got actually, Daredevil Born Again is the first new announcement for Phase 5, by the way. So that we got that announced. Oh, and it's going to be 18 episodes.
Oh, yeah.
Daredevil Born Again is 18 episodes, which the Netflix series was 13. And not going to lie, like, I mean, obviously episodes slowed down a little bit, but Marvel's really been sticking with these 6 episodes and, you know, making the show the length of the story. So I'm very interested about, you know, how much are they doing in this with it being 18 episodes? There's going to be a lot done. Very excited for that. Now, following that, getting into what I was saying before, our second new-ish announcement, we knew Captain America 4 was coming after The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We now have a title and a release date. Captain America New World Order, releasing on May 3rd, 2024. I mean, it's going to have to do with Sharon Carter as the power broker. The entire thing with, what were they called? The Flag Smashers. Mm-hmm. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier was about creating a new world order. So this is just going to continue off of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And obviously, the Captain America in Captain America New World Order is not Steve Rogers. It is Falcon. It is Sam Wilson.
There you go.
Uncle Sam. Yeah, I was like blanking on the name for 2 seconds there. I'm excited to see more of Anthony Mackie as Falcon. Mm-hmm. I have no doubt that the Winter Soldier will be in this movie too. He'll be back. They're so fun to watch together.
Yeah,
that was the best part of Falcon and the Winter Soldier was just their interactions between each other. They're so funny. They're so fun. I still don't love Sharon Carter being the power broker, but yeah, I mean, Captain America New World Order. We finally have a title and a release date for Captain America 4. So that's exciting. And the last movie in Phase 5, our last official announcement, again, something that had been rumored very recently that even Wyatt Russell had brought up to him in an interview. July 26th. Sorry, I almost said 24th. July 26th, 2024. Thunderbolts. So, as we all could tell, they were leading to the Thunderbolts. And it's coming on July 26th, 2024. Interesting, because they're kind of pushing their July movies into the end of July instead of early July. It's like all their May movies are still saying it's like early May, May 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever.
Yeah.
But, you know, like Spider-Man Far From Home was July 7th, I think. or sorry, Homecoming was July 7th, I think. Far From Home was July 2nd because of the 4th of July was on a Friday that year, or like Thursday or Friday. Thor 4 was just July 8th. So yeah, they're pushing them a bit later into July. So yeah, July 26th, Thunderbolts. Abomination is definitely going to be on it. He seems to be being set up for that by being in She-Hulk, having whatever's happening between him and Wong. We have U.S. Agent, who we see by the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. John Walker.
Mm-hmm.
That's his first name is John,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. John Walker, U.S. Agent. Wyatt Russell was fantastic as him as well. His character was really good in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so he'll be in there. I'm assuming Yelena Belova will be a part of the Thunderbolts as well. I don't know who else. Oh my god, I'm yawning so much. I don't know who else. Those are my really big thoughts there. Maybe Shang-Chi's sister, but she's running the 10 Rings anyway, so I doubt it. Yeah, I don't really know who else could be in the Thunderbolts. I mean, like, the Thunderbolts in the comics have Red Hulk, and Red Hulk will not be happening in the MCU anymore with William Hurt passing away. He played Thunderbolt Ross. Mm-hmm. Will Hurt played Thunderbolt Ross in The Incredible Hulk and came back in Civil War and even had a bit of a scene in Infinity War, I believe, just a 2-second, like he was on a hologram. And Thunderbolt Ross in the comics he's the namesake for the Thunderbolts, but he is Red Hulk. He's kind of the one who brings this team about. They're very similar to Baron Zemo. Baron Zemo is going to be in it.
Yeah,
forgot about that one. He'll probably be in it. Ooh, maybe even Winter Soldier. Actually, I'm seeing that in some of these pictures too. Winter Soldier could be in there. Taskmaster, Ghost. Red Hulk won't happen because he's passed away, and they wouldn't recast the character, which sucks because I really enjoy the Red Hulk, and his powers are interesting because they are a bit different from Bruce Banner's. Because the Hulk gets stronger as he gets angrier, and Red Hulk does get a little bit stronger as he gets angrier, but he gets hot. Like, his body physically heats up and will start to, like, melt things around him. Like, melt metal around him the angrier he gets. So, it's a bit of a different take on the Hulk's powers, so that was cool. So it's unfortunate we won't see that, but I also I fully respect Marvel for the reason they won't recast a character because the actor has passed away. So yeah, that's pretty much the big outline of Phase 5, and 3 new announcements: Daredevil Born Again, a release date for Captain America and title for Captain America 4, and a release date and proper announcement of the Thunderbolts film. Basically Marvel Suicide Squad. They'll do a great job with that. It's government run, government attempt at an Avengers team, but it's the government, so they're going to hire, not great people to do it. Phase 5 looks great. There's nothing here that I don't like or am really iffy on. The things I'm the most iffy on are Echo and Ironheart. Ironheart because her character didn't have a great run in the comics. Echo because
we just haven't seen much.
I don't know. We saw her in Hawkeye. That's more so of how much, Echo is very tied to Kingpin, obviously, as we saw in Hawkeye. So is Daredevil. Daredevil's supposed to be in the show. I'm a little bit concerned of how much is Echo going to be a show about Echo rather than just a show to lead into Daredevil Born Again. So I'm a little bit iffy on, is that going to end up in the Book of Boba Fett situation of we have a bit of a show around it, and then all of a sudden 2 episodes are just setting up a completely different show. Everything else here looks great, though. But moving on from that, we had another trailer drop at San Diego Comic-Con. And this is for Guardians 3. And now, I am very, very excited for this film. James Gunn is back, obviously, because this movie would not have been made if he wasn't rehired by Disney. The villain of the film is the High Evolutionary, who is a pretty sizable character in Marvel Comics. He's featured in a lot. He's essentially he likes to augment things, and he believes that things need to be perfectly evolved. And humans to him are disgusting because we are so basic and so unevolved. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the High Evolutionary's thing. He's being played by Chukwudi Iwuji. Might have said that wrong, and I apologize if I did. From Peacemaker. Peacemaker's such a fun show. He plays, for anyone who doesn't remember, the character who is, I'm forgetting his name, who worked with Peacemaker and his team, but actually turned out to be, hold on, I gotta find his name. I won't say it because you haven't seen Peacemaker, and I want you to eventually ever watch Peacemaker because it's really good.
I actually, here's a bit of a confession. I haven't seen any of Daredevil yet.
I know you haven't. Yeah, Chris hasn't watched Daredevil. Chris hasn't watched Stranger Things. Chris hasn't watched Peacemaker. I don't think you've watched The Suicide Squad either.
Man, I don't know. I'm just not. I missed a lot of stuff.
Clemson.
When I was a kid, I didn't read any of the Harry Potter. I didn't read Percy Jackson. Everyone was so into Percy Jackson when we were kids.
I read the first Percy Jackson book, and I didn't read anything else. But that was also probably because I should and still should probably be on ADHD meds, and I hate reading. So I just can't do it. I can't focus on it long enough. But yeah, I only read the first Percy Jackson book. I read a couple of the Harry Potter books, but I don't I could read things and I don't actually comprehend any of it. I will have read 2 pages and then I'll be I don't remember anything I just read. So I've read the first couple of Harry Potter books. I just don't remember any of them. Chukwudi Iwuji plays Clemson Mern in Peacemaker. Chris may eventually get around to watching these. They're good shows, but maybe not. I don't know. It's Chris. But yeah, so he's playing the High Evolutionary. He's a great actor. He was great in Peacemaker, so he seems very good as the High Evolutionary. One of the bigger plot points of Guardians 3 is going to be about Rocket Raccoon and his backstory. Because if you remember, they made a bit of a point in the first Guardians when Rocket had taken his shirt off for a scene that Peter makes a face and you see he's got all this kind of stuff implanted in his back. Mm-hmm. They confirmed at San Diego Comic-Con the High Evolutionary made Rocket Raccoon. And so that is going to be a major part of the plot. Is going to be Rocket and his backstory and with the High Evolutionary. Something on the trailer that was released, I haven't seen part of this one either, is that it seems to be a very sad movie with really good and really fun moments cut in there. Obviously you're still going to have the humor in there. It's the Guardians. You're still going to have the funny parts. But so another big part of the show is going to be about Gamora, who we see at the end of Endgame, is the one who has time travel from 2014. So you're going to see a lot of that. I don't want the Guardians to end because they're just so much fun, but this is the end of the story. And James Gunn has said that. And some of the actors even got emotional at San Diego Comic-Con talking about it. Filming has ended on it at this point. I think it was Chris Pratt, I can't remember her name, but Mantis's actress, both got a little emotional at San Diego Comic-Con talking about this. But a major point is Gamora, who's come back from 2014. Apparently, Star-Lord is very, you know, distraught over the fact that Gamora doesn't know who he is.
Understandably so.
Yeah, he's in love with her, and part of the movie is going to be getting her back. Cosmo the space dog is in it, which is fantastic. We saw him in like one of the collector's little boxes, so we'll see Cosmo the space dog. That'll be fun. James Gunn also said Adam Warlock, who is being played by Will Poulter, the guy who has really weirdly shaped eyebrows, and you'll know what I'm saying if you Google his face right now. Love Will Poulter though; he's really good in what he's been in. He is playing Adam Warlock. James Gunn said Adam Warlock was almost going to be put in Volume 2, but wasn't put in, obviously, as we watched the movie 5 years ago at this point. Which is crazy to think about the fact that it came out half a decade ago. But James Gunn said he is really glad Adam Warlock didn't make it into Volume 2 because he says that Will Poulter is perfect for Adam Warlock. So a lot from a solid amount from Guardians 3. They got a trailer. We haven't seen it yet. But it's the end of the story. And I don't know if that necessarily means that anyone dies. I think James Gunn could give us satisfying endings and not have to kill anyone. I think it's going to really come down to, I think the team's just going to fall apart.
Yeah, just go their separate ways.
I think that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the saddest part is they're all just going to be like, we can't do this together anymore. It's too much.
I gotta say, James Gunn always gives me a satisfying ending.
I'm scared of what you're saying. I'm scared about where this is going, what you're smiling for. Oh, God. Continue. Go ahead. Elaborate,
nope,
please.
Not going to do that.
Okay, then. Also at the panel, in full high evolutionary costume, Chukwudi Owuji came out and walked around fully in character and gave this really good speech of, you're all vile, you all remind me why I do what I do. That nice villain speech. I'm so excited to see him as the villain. He was so good in Peacemaker.
Oh, speaking of being in full costume,
go.
The Dwayne The Rock Johnson came out in full Black Adam costume at the DC.
Oh yeah, DC had a Hall H panel too, but there's nothing to talk about.
Shazam 2
I'm sorry,
and Black
they're just
Adam. That's it.
They dropped a Shazam 2 trailer, and I will say Shazam 2 looks great.
Yeah, I
love the first Shazam movie. The trailer for Shazam Fury of the Gods looks great. But they talked about two things. They dropped the Shazam Fury of the Gods trailer, talked about that for a little bit. Black Adam, or Dwayne The Rock Johnson, came out in full Black Adam costume. They dropped a little bit more for Black Adam, which comes out in November. And that was it. That was their entire San Diego Comic-Con panel.
They're so...
And people got super excited.
They're comically, hilariously behind Marvel. In terms of cinema.
They're on the level of Marvel Phase 1 right now.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that they have come out with a solid amount of movies, and they are still on that. They're still trying to get their movies off the ground.
Yeah, Marvel figured out the formula, and DC is just failing to follow it.
Exactly, and yeah, it hurts that there is a formula, and people hate that things can be formulaic, and I do too. I don't love when things feel the same, but if it works, it works. If it ain't broke, don't
come on,
fix it.
It's superhero movies.
It's DC. That's a whole other conversation for why I feel that they are not doing as well as they should with the characters they have. But everyone was super excited for DC because they're a day, maybe two before their Hall H Comic-Con, all these rumors started to come out that maybe Henry Cavill would show up to announce his return as Superman. And there was a perfect time for him to do it in the panel too, because someone asked The Rock, they said, will Black Adam fight Superman ever? And he said, well, it depends on who plays Superman. Which
and he goes, as a matter of fact,
a perfect line for Henry Cavill.
I'll be playing Superman. What?
For Henry Cavill to walk out and be like, well, I'm playing Superman. And everyone lose their mind because Henry Cavill's finally back. And it didn't happen. It didn't. They didn't do anything. All they did was announce a bit more for the movie that already, pretty sure has 2 trailers at this point, coming out in November, that we all know a solid amount about. Not everything, but a solid amount. And
honest.
If you're being honest, what?
If you said we know a decent amount about, and I said we know enough.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know enough to tell me that I'm gonna watch the movie eventually.
It's
Probably
like I'll see it when I
theaters,
see it,
but I'll
kind of
watch it
thing.
eventually.
It's not gonna be like
I'll see it when it comes out on HBO Max, because it will come out on HBO Max, because that's where they're gonna drop all their movies, kind of similar to Disney Plus. But yeah, they have the Flash film coming. They have Aquaman 2 coming. They have the Blue Beetle and Batgirl movies on HBO Max that are both filming right now. And they said nothing about any of them. At least as far as I know. They just didn't really bring up anything about them. And look, it could be wrong. They could have made small mentions about them. And I'll honestly look up right now.
I don't really think people want to
I didn't follow it.
hear about the Flash very much right now.
Absolutely not. I don't. And I will not be seeing that movie in theaters if they release it with Ezra Miller and don't reshoot the entire film, which, let's be honest, they probably won't. I'm not watching it in theaters. I am not paying a single dollar to watch that movie for Ezra Miller. Nothing against Andy Muschietti, the director. Nothing against, just forgot her name, playing Supergirl. Obviously nothing against Michael Keaton as Batman. Everything against Ezra Miller as the Flash. I already didn't like him playing the Flash. They should have recast him after he had assaulted a fan before they filmed the Flash movie. Now they filmed the entire movie where he plays not one but 2 main characters, and now he's got all this going on, and now they're stuck between a rock and a hard place. So I don't feel bad for Warner Brothers at this point, because they should have seen this coming. Yeah, I'm looking this up now. I'm on Polygon. Polygon's got some good reports on things. No updates on any of the other projects, including The Flash. We thought there might be news on the sequel to the sequel to Aquaman, the 3rd Wonder Woman movie, any of the upcoming The Batman follow-ups, the Batgirl movie, or the Static Shock movie. Basically, anything about the other projects Warner Brothers has coming up. But nope, it was just those 2 new trailers.
I can't believe they didn't do anything about
Shazam,
the Batman.
And they talked about...
Dude, the Batman had everybody for 2 months. Every, 16 to 24-year-old male going, "There's something in the way."
I'm so happy that we post these recordings to YouTube, because people are going to see that eventually, Chris.
That's going to be on the internet forever.
It did. Everybody, there are very few people that disliked the Batman.
Yeah.
So at least have Matt Reeves come up and talk about, hey, we're doing a Batman 2, obviously, so, maybe we're going to do this with it. Even if nothing's concrete, have him say, might do Mr. Freeze, might do this, might do that, might do some of all these things. We have the Penguin show coming. Here's what this is going to be about. But they didn't do anything. And the worst, to make it even go a little bit deeper, they talked about Black Adam in November. They talked about Shazam! Fury of the Gods. Shazam and Black Adam have the same powers. They are directly related. Essentially, they talked about one topic.
You know when there's a big project due in school. It's a big presentation, and
you do it the night before.
No, it's when everybody's presenting, and you get to the one kid, and he starts, and you can tell that he did it the night before, and you're like, oh, like
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed for you, buddy.
Not even just like not even that. It's the kid, you can tell, did it the night before and was quite literally reading through the rubric requirements and filling them out in order.
Yes.
And it's literally like, okay, like San Diego Comic-Con requirements, drop a new trailer, talk about an upcoming movie, have a character come out in full costume, have a bigger trailer. I mean, shit, I was going to say at least one announcement, but they didn't announce anything. They didn't announce anything. They didn't even get through the complete
Marvel
rubric.
Announced everything.
Yeah, meanwhile, Marvel literally dragged their balls on DC's face. Like, just all over.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Anyway, so back to Marvel after we're going through that short mention of DC's panel. So yeah, they announced all of Phase 5, talked about Guardians 3. Then Kevin Feige comes out and says, "Let's talk about Phase 6." We got the bomb, like an even bigger bombshell. Besides them giving us all of Phase 5, which I expected actually. So I was right about that one at least. We did get all of Phase 5. They talked about Phase 6. They dropped some things about on us. You know, Phase 6 is happening. As obviously it was going to happen. And if you want to know what we thought about that, be sure to go check out the episode coming out the day after this one. This is coming out Tuesday at noon. You're listening to it, obviously. Coming out tomorrow, Wednesday at noon, on Phase 6. But the last part of Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con was Black Panther Wakanda Forever, coming out in November. Now, this is obviously a more difficult film. And that's a very general statement. It's not difficult because of the plot. I mean, I guess you could say the plot is going to be a little bit difficult. It's difficult because the character of Black Panther obviously very much rode on the shoulders of Chadwick Boseman. He's been in so many movies. He was such a great actor. He has just recently been nominated for a posthumous Emmy Award for his voice acting on What If, which is the last thing he has ever been in and ever will be in. It's very difficult to continue Black Panther without Chadwick Boseman. And there were 3 routes they could go in the film. They could recast him, which Marvel, as soon as he passed away, it seemed clear they weren't going to recast him. And again, at Disney Plus Investors Day back in 2020, Kevin Feige came out and said, "We will not recast."
Which is absolutely the right decision.
And yeah. And it's funny because Chadwick Boseman's brother or sister, one of his siblings, came out and said Chadwick would have wanted them to recast it. And yeah, I mean, he probably would have. He probably wouldn't have wanted this character to change because of himself. Because he was a very selfless guy. But to everyone watching, he is Black Panther. And no one else will be able to play T'Challa after him. So it's not an easy task to make this sequel to what was such a successful Marvel film. It was crazy to see the movement it had created. Like our school had a bit of an impact just from Black Panther coming out. So it had such an impact, and you have to create a sequel to that, but you have to create a sequel to that without your leading actor. So there's been a lot of curiosity around this about what they're going to do. So they weren't going to recast. They could say that T'Challa is off doing something in the universe and we'll never see him again. And they could just say he's off, he's out there somewhere. Or in the universe of the MCU, they could have T'Challa pass away. And so We get San Diego Comic-Con. We haven't had a trailer for Black Panther Wakanda Forever yet, and they dropped the trailer. And it seems like they are going to give T'Challa, Black Panther, the character, a really, really big funeral. A big and beautiful funeral. So that's going to be really sad to watch. Yeah. I might cry a little bit because I love Chadwick Boseman. I loved watching a lot of his movies. So yeah, I'm very excited for Black Panther Wakanda Forever after this trailer. It was a beautiful trailer. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. Even if you haven't watched the first Black Panther, just know what happened with Chadwick Boseman. Knowing that, go and watch the trailer, because you can tell that the first half of the trailer is a hint to the tribute they will give Chadwick Boseman in the film.
Yeah, for me, it's like, it's bittersweet and almost feel guilty for like looking forward to this movie, because like it's just such a huge loss for the MCU and the world. And it's like it feels strange to just like go on and just like right around this terrible passing. But like it's just so it's something that you never want to have to deal with.
Yeah, and it's a difficult position for Marvel, as we can tell. And it was crazy. He fought stage 4 cancer in silence, and no one knew until the whole world found out when he passed away. Nobody knew. And it was funny because I remember February of 2020, he had posted a picture and he looked a little skinnier, and people were commenting like, is he okay? Is he sick? Because he did not look like the Chadwick Boseman who was Black Panther. He looked like he was thin and he was not doing well. And the post got deleted. And then in August, they had announced that he had passed away. And I looked back at that and I was like, wow, no, people were right. He was. He was fighting in silence. So the trailer is set to a rendition of No Woman, No Cry. Who recorded
the original, or?
It's a No Woman, No Cry cover by Nigerian artist Thames, along with 2 original tracks from the film. We're going to see Namor in the movie, so getting into what the movie's actually about. Namor is in it, which is really cool, because Namor is the first Marvel character and the first X-Men that we see in Marvel Comics. The best way to think of it is he's Marvel's Aquaman, since Aquaman is the more popular character, but Namor came first. So that's a cool thing. We'll see Namor. He's being played by Tenoch Huerta, which we had mentioned in another earlier episode, because that had been rumored for a while and he had to learn a Mayan language. And yes, he will be wearing green underwear for a scene. And yes, it looks like Marvel's version of Atlantis will be based on a more ancient Mayan city. So that's a really cool look. The trailer looks great. The CGI looks really stunning. Good. The underwater shots look beautiful. The colors, the gold, everything looks great. As a movie, I was very unsure about where this was going to go, because it had been delayed multiple times from COVID. Letitia White got injured playing Shuri. So yeah, there was a whole lot going on around this, but it's still coming out in November, and it looks great. This trailer looks amazing. So I'm so excited for it. And at the very end of the trailer, we see there is a fight between Namor and a new Black Panther. Another very difficult thing is creating a new Black Panther. And I had heard a lot of rumors it was going to be M'Baku, who we see in the first Black Panther film. We also see in Infinity War. He is of the gorilla tribe. um, I forget what they're called, but another tribe in Wakanda, um, who worships, I believe, the gorilla god, M'Baku. He's was rumored to be taking over Black Panther, but if you look and pause the very quick scene, you really only see the legs and back. You at first I thought it was M'Baku. I thought it was a guy. But if you look at it closer, a lot of people are saying the body shape seems to be a lot more similar to a woman than a man, which in the comics, Shuri does become Black Panther. So it seems like we are getting Shuri, Letitia Wright, as our new Black Panther to fight Namor.
I like that move.
And they had referenced the underwater tremors back in Endgame. Okoye had mentioned those. So I'm excited to see what the plot of the film is and see how there's going to be what seems like a war between Atlantis and Wakanda. And in the comics, that is true. Black Panther and Namor were rivals. And they actually were both members of the Illuminati in the comics, which we just saw the Illuminati Multiverse of Madness. And they butt heads a lot and come into conflict. So we will see that in Black Panther Wakanda Forever. So that's very exciting. In general, I'm really, really excited for that movie, especially with how beautiful the trailer was, the music, the shots. It's funny, a lot of people were like, this has a lot to do with water. It's very similar to Avatar 2, The Way of Water, which that's a good comment. That is kind of true. But yeah, that is really closing out Marvel's San Diego Comic-Con panel. Now, obviously, in this episode, there's more we have not discussed. This episode is mainly about the end of Phase 4 with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which, yes, they did confirm Black Panther Wakanda Forever is the end of Phase 4, so this is the end of everything we have seen so far since Endgame. And it's leading into the next phase, starting with Ant-Man Quantumania in February. But so this episode is mainly about the end of Phase 4 and Phase 5 as a whole, talking over what those are, what's coming, some of the things we're excited for. And if you want to hear what we think about Phase 6 and them dropping the release date for Fantastic Four, them dropping the next two Avengers films, their titles at least, and their release dates, what we think may be coming in Phase 6, what we think they're going to say at their Disney Investors Day in September. If you want to hear about all of that, go ahead and check out our second episode dropping this week. It's a bit of a special week. You're getting 2 episodes coming out on Wednesday at noon. But I really don't have much else to say. I'm excited for November. I'm excited for Phase 5. I know I'm going to enjoy a lot in it. Daredevil is back, and he's great. Charlie Cox is great. Vincent D'Onofrio is back as Kingpin, also great. But do you have anything else to add, Chris, to this?
I honestly can't tell you what I'm the most excited for coming up. Whether it's Black Panther to close out Phase 4 or any of Phase 5 or Phase 6, like there's just so much ahead of us for the MCU.
Exactly. Like the trailer for Quantumania looked great. Secret Invasion's trailer I've heard is great. Guardians 3 is going to be really emotional. I mean, Loki was our best Disney Plus show, and we're getting season 2 of that. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an exciting future. They're gonna, obviously, Phase 5 is going to set up the seeds towards Secret Wars, and I'm excited to see how they do that, how the multiverse is involved, how they still have the more grounded stories like Captain America New World Order put into those, into this huge multiverse story, how these characters all interact. I'm so excited to see where they go. They've been doing a lot with it, and they're going to keep doing a lot with it. And I really just hope the stories are there. Because the biggest thing, the Phase 4 stories felt like they were lacking a little bit. So I hope the stories get the attention they need and get brought back to the level of Phase 3. That's my biggest one. Phase 3 level stories.
I just hope they don't try to do too much.
But
that's really my only concern.
Exactly. Don't do too much. Don't try to do too much too fast. That's a bit of a concern too, because these release dates are very close together if you look at the timeline. But with that said, that's all we have to talk about today for Phase 4 and Phase 5. Thank you all for coming to listen today, Tuesday at noon, whatever day in July it is, because we don't know the days in the summer. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you tomorrow at noon, and then after that, back next Tuesday, talking about something else that may drop at this point, because they said this wasn't going to be the major drops, and they dropped a whole lot more than we expected. So thank you all for listening, and have a great rest of your day.